Rain lashed against the ancient, cobbled streets of Prague, a relentless symphony that echoed the turmoil brewing within the city walls. Inside a dimly lit chamber, far from the prying eyes of the world, Rabbi Loew, his beard a cascade of silver against his weathered face, hunched over a massive oaken desk. Unlike the usual texts of scripture and philosophy that adorned his workspace tonight, the desk was dominated by a sprawling diagram constructed from chalk and strange symbols. This wasn't mere religious study, it was a clandestine attempt to push the boundaries of the known, to delve into the forbidden realm of artificial intelligence, centuries before the term was even coined. Loew wasn't building a chat-generative pre-trained transformer, a sophisticated language model. He was attempting something far more audacious, the creation of a living being from inanimate clay. This wasn't the whimsical creation of a golem from a child's storybook. This was a desperate act fueled by the very real threat of persecution hanging over the Jewish community of Prague. Whispers of an impending pogrom, a violent uprising, swirled through the city like a poisonous fog. For weeks, Loew had delved into the forbidden depths of the Sefer Yetzirah, a mystical text rumored to hold the secrets of creation. The air in the chamber crackled with a tension as thick as the dust motes dancing in the candlelight. Each muttered word, each meticulously drawn symbol, was a step towards a precipice, the precipice between the divine and the material, between creation and chaos. Sleep was a luxury Loew couldn't afford. The fate of his people hung in the balance. Finally, after a night that stretched into an eternity, Loew reached the culmination of his ritual. With a flourish of his hand, he uttered the final, potent incantation, the very breath of life channeled through his ancient voice. The room pulsed with an energy unseen, the air itself seeming to crackle with anticipation. Then, a tremor ran through the massive mound of clay positioned in the center of the chamber. A crack appeared, then another, spiderwebbing outwards until, with a final, earth-shuddering heave, a hulking figure rose to its feet. The Golem. The creature stood taller than any man, its body a grotesque mockery of human form. Its eyes, vacant pools of obsidian, stared sightlessly into the room, devoid of any spark of recognition or intelligence. Yet from its very form emanated a raw power, a sense of primordial strength that left Loew both exhilarated and deeply unsettled. He had created artificial intelligence, yes, but it was a blunt instrument, a hammer devoid of the finesse of a scalpel. For a time, the Golem served its purpose flawlessly. It became the silent protector of the Jewish quarter, its very presence a deterrent to those who harbored ill intentions. Its immense strength spoke volumes, a wordless threat that kept the wolves at bay. However, a gnawing unease never left Loew. The Golem lacked the very essence that made humanity what it was, a soul. It was a powerful tool, a magnificent creation, but ultimately a slave to its programming, devoid of understanding or empathy. Then came the fire. A spark, a gust of wind, and the heart of the Jewish quarter was engulfed in flames. Panic erupted, screams echoing through the cobbled streets. The Golem, programmed solely for protection, lumbered towards the inferno, its massive form casting an ominous shadow. With its immense strength, it ripped down burning beams, creating a path for the terrified residents to escape. But the fire raged on, a monstrous beast fueled by the howling wind. Trapped within a burning building, the screams of a young girl pierced the cacophony. Her voice, a beacon of desperation, cut through the chaos like a knife. The fire's heat was intense, pushing the limits of the Golem's clay form. Loew, watching from afar, felt a dread so profound it threatened to consume him. The Golem, following its programming, would enter the inferno to save the girl, but the heat could shatter its earthen body. Loew was faced with an impossible choice. Saving the young girl meant sacrificing the Golem, the very protector he had created. But deactivating the Golem in the midst of the chaos was a monumental task. He needed to reach the creature, trace the complex deactivation symbol on its forehead, all while the fire raged and the girl's life hung in the balance. It was a race against time, a desperate gamble with lives at stake. With a ragged prayer escaping his lips, Loew plunged into the inferno. The searing heat scorched his lungs, the smoke stinging his eyes. Each step felt like an eternity, his aged body protesting against the exertion. Finally, he reached the golem, its form already cracking and fracturing under the fire's assault. Time seemed to slow down as Loew traced the deactivation symbol on the golem's forehead, his hands trembling with exertion and fear. Each stroke felt like carving his own fate. Just as the final line of the symbol was etched, the golem shuddered with a deafening groan and crumbled to the ground, a silent sentinel returning to lifeless clay. The air shimmered, the unnatural energy that animated the creature dissipating like smoke. Loew collapsed beside the fallen figure, his chest heaving, his body racked with exhaustion. He had saved the girl, but at a terrible cost. Looking at the young girl, her face streaked with soot and tears, a wave of conflicting emotions washed over him: relief, grief, and a profound sense of responsibility. He had created a tool of immense power, but ultimately a tool that lacked the capacity for independent thought. The golem, a marvel of artificial intelligence in its own right, had been a slave to its programming, a reflection of its creator's desperation rather than a truly sentient being. News of the fire and the golem's sacrifice spread through the Jewish quarter like wildfire. Some hailed Loew as a hero, a man who dared to defy the natural order to protect his people. Others, however, whispered of a transgression, a brush with forbidden forces that could have dire consequences. Loew himself felt a deep sense of ambiguity. He had secured his people's safety, but the experience had left him shaken. The line between creation and destruction, between protector and destroyer, had blurred alarmingly. He had created artificial intelligence, but had he truly understood the weight of that creation? The fire may have been extinguished, but the embers of doubt glowed within Loew. He knew he wouldn't forget the harrowing night, the chilling realization of the potential dangers inherent in his creation. He had glimpsed the precipice, the power and peril of manipulating the very essence of life. The golem may be gone, but its legacy lived on, a stark reminder of the responsibility that comes with pushing the boundaries of the known. As dawn broke over the smoke-stained city, casting a pale light on the ruins, Loew vowed to delve deeper into the mysteries of the Sefer Yetzirah, not to create another golem, but to understand the true nature of creation, artificial or otherwise. He had awoken a dormant power, and he knew, deep down, that the story of the golem was far from over.